It's the next day after I got this motor taken out, and then I uploaded the last video. I did wind up ordering everything needed. I got new pistons from D&J. I have Engine Tech complete engine gasket set, so it comes with the top end and the bottom end stuff, which encapsulates the timing cover gasket seals, crank seals, and everything I will need for this. I also have rod bearings coming, timing set, and some basic superficial stuff. Like I got a PCV valve coming, and I actually have a PCV hose because that's leaking. When I pulled the intake, there was oil around the vacuum actuator for the runners. So I'm gonna replace this hose here, because what happens, they'll split, and everybody know how Toyota hoses are, like right there, that'll split. It'll cause some leaking, and they become hard and brittle, and it don't take much. See that? So that's going to get replaced with the brand new hose. I got that off of Amazon. It wasn't like $12. So what I'm doing right now, I got an old worn out 1000 grit sand pad, and I'm just going through it. It's worn out, so I'm just getting some of the debris off from here. I mean, again, it's a worn out 1000 grit, so you can imagine how fine the surface is. So it's not going to dig into it so bad to the point where it's going to cause some imperfections. It's just enough to be able to get the surface layer stuff off. So this is metal. Okay, so we're in good shape. So I'm gonna get all this stuff cleaned up pretty well. Just get the old gasket material off those high points, and clean it off, flip it around, take the pan out, just some 10mm bolts, and take the pan sub-assembly down, because I do have to take the pan. Well, after I take the pan down, I need to take the, what do they call the thing, the balance shaft. Gotta get that out. Sub-assembly got to come out. Then I'll have access to the pistons. I can get those out, get everything put back in reverse order. So I'm gonna try to do this in a different kind of format here. So I'm gonna try to cut each thing I need to replace in 5-minute increments, and hopefully I can get the engine torn down and the component replaced within that 5-minute window per mentioned component, if that make any sense. So sub-assembly, mention what needs to come out, remove it. Balance shaft, mention what needs to come out, remove it, that way, because I don't want to make it too long and drawn out, because people know I have a propensity to talk too much. But make note, I marked everything that here, that needs seals. That's where the gaskets, actual physical gaskets, needs to go. Sealant. Here's our top dead center mark. There's our keyway. There's our mark there. Pistons at top dead center. So from this point, when I pull the sub-assembly and get to that balance shaft, I'm going to make a indication on that also with the paint marker, so I put it back in the exact same spot. No questions asked. So the pistons, look at how they're positioned. Here's the timing chain side. Look at the tops here of the piston. The smaller side is down here. Here's the larger side. The smaller side needs to face the exhaust. Remind you, timing chain, the small side here. So this is how they're going to go back in there. You don't want to flip them around and put them in reverse order. Real quick, I want to make it known that I didn't know what these things were. One of them fell when I had it on the desk, and I'm like, oh shoot, these things come out. These are valve stem caps, and I saw one of these laying around. I'm like, where did this come off of? And I can't remember if it was an engine I disassembled or something I probably done screwed up. This was a while ago, but I remember seeing one of these somewhere. And now I know. I knew I was going to have an aha moment, but I don't know where it went. As far as I'm concerned, every engine I've done recently is working fine, but I I don't know. I don't know. But I think down the line, I'm going to find out that I probably screwed up something. Wow. Crazy. Crazy how that works. It's kind of like one of those situations where you're trying to remember something and then you have that aha moment, like when you go into the shower like hours later. That's kind of like this. I'm like, I know I've seen this kind of cap somewhere, but where does it go? And I don't even know where it go. But in regards to this situation here, that's where it went. These valve stem caps come off. So be mindful not to lose them. Because trust me, when I figure out where in the hell the valve stem cap that I had, where it went, trust me, I'm gonna link this video and I'm gonna update it. But in the meantime, I do believe it was an engine I just happened to tear down and it was just kind of laying around. So moving on. So we're gonna remove the carrier for the dry shaft. 14mm. Oil pan bolts, 10mm. Got the oil pan pickup, 10mm. I did a video on how to replace the balance shaft on one of these, so, and I should have provided torque specs, so you know. Baffle, get that out. Now we have the balance shaft here. What I'll do, there's a mark here in the front. Being that I have the engine at top dead center, I can just go ahead and put the whiteout or my pin marker right here, and I'm going to inscribe that now. There's my marks there. Mark here. And I still have the engine at top dead center right there. A special tool to remove the oil filter cap. Actually, I need to pull it out because there's a bolt down right there. I gotta get out. So I'm gonna take all the bolts around here out. Looks like these two, 1, 2. There's some in the back, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7. Be another one somewhere. I'm not sure how far these extend up. I'm just gonna pull the balance shaft out though. I'm gonna remove the balance shaft, get the 14. Millimeter. So as I'm pulling stuff down here, I'm just periodically hitting it with some brake clean and giving it a treatment so I can get the area somewhat cleaned up and let it sit. Wipe some of the obvious stuff off with a rag. Then I'll flip it over so everything will fall in the pan. Don't forget the plastic here for the coolant channel. And let that just drain, and then I'll pull off the sub-assembly, and then we'll have clear access to the crankshaft and to the pistons, so we can get those out. Now you can see that bolt down in there a lot better. I'm referring to, it's kind of hidden. So you should have been able to see some of the other bolts. You got these here, and then all the other ones are on the inside. So the outside bolts, and the inside. So while I'm in here, it's not going to hurt to make a TDC mark right here on the balance shaft and on the block here, just to, you know, for point of reference. And right now I'm just not ashamed of making more marks than what I think I need, just so I can have some sort of subconscious recollection. And if I happen to overlook something, I got like, oh, reference here, I wrote that, let me go back and look at it. Oh, that's that. Let's go ahead and get this oil pan sub-assembly off. It's gonna be a 14. Twelve. 12. This would be a 12 there. Yeah, those are 12s. It want to snap. I'm not gonna lie. So we got the long ones here. Is same length. Pretty much idiot proof. Look for some pry points here. There's one right here between the block here. Pry that point right there. Little cavity. Perfect. Here's the other half. Where's that O-ring I was referring to? Thought it was gonna be an O-ring down there. I remember the old ones were like that. I guess not. Unless I don't think I pulled it off and I overlooked it. Unless it's just a flat machine surface. So I was looking to see if I had to put sealant down there, but I guess I'll look in the directions and find out. But this isn't going to be like 100% full how to rebuild. I'm just going over some things while I'm pulling this down. Then I'll have to be more hyper focused on getting this engine right and looking at directions. And I will probably provide some torque specs in some cases, but this is not a full rebuild video. You just hang along. So I was looking around to see where like the oil went. So I seem like it collects here at the pickup, goes inside of here through the oil pump, where it gets pressurized, back around inside of here, where it comes out here, collects on the outer perimeter of the oil filter, and goes inside the center where it's filtered, back out through here, and back out through here where it gets distributed to various places. So all that's going to be like timing cover related. Now I have to look back at the timing cover, but that's where I'm going to stop with that. But for the most part, I guess it doesn't take a gasket because it's probably a machine surface. So I'm not going to break my neck. I'll look at directions. I'll look at directions later when I have to get everything put back together, but this is not a full rebuild. I cannot stress that enough to you. Y'all just hanging along. I'm just documenting this rebuild. This is not a full rebuild. I probably will provide some torque specs in some instances, but don't rely on me to rebuild your motor. I got some gasket maker down here. There's our oil squirters. And yeah, you got 2 of them. Well, let's move this engine off. Let's turn it off to the side. Yeah, you got 2 oil squirters down there. That's crazy. So somebody in the comment section did bring up, like, I think we talked about how the engine was so clean, but my speculation was because of how Toyota probably have, like, not just the blocks designed very well, but good slosh lubrication. I mean, it can collect and accumulate back in the place where it needs to be, and it's not going to sit and store. So you can see how smooth the block is here, where it will slosh around and then it can just fall right back down into the pan. There's no places where it'll just sit there and accumulate whole and bake. So, and you see how it has, like the Chevy I got, has 1 oil squirter. This has, wow, it's more than that. So there's 2 right there. 2, and then there's another one. So there's 3. There's 3. 1, 2, 3. And there's 2 right here. Toyota's just, they got it right. Even though the pistons, it's just a low friction ring issue. Let's go ahead and get the piston out, see what it looks like, because we're right there at it. You can actually just take the main caps off if you wanted to do the main bearings. The rear main seal, yeah, I could replace it, and I just need to get the flex plate off, and that'll probably be the last thing I would do when I get it out and back to get installed. Just pull the flex plate, replace the rear main seal, and pop it back in there. All right, let's go ahead and pull out one of the pistons. This is going to be a 12 millimeter 12 point. Golly, this on here. Ugh. So we got, I want to show you the marks on the piston the connecting rod before I pull it off. So here's cylinder 1. You can see the marks inscribed here. There's M. Where's this is going to be U. So you see where the cap is broken, where they need to meet. They're all going to be the same here. Well, it needs to go to its corresponding location. So if anything, as far as specificity, like orientation, I'm putting the rods back in the same spot, even though they're going to get new bearings. They're standard, so technically I don't have to, but I will anyway. So I'm going to clean this, mark the location, and then put the connecting rod back in its respective spot. So let's get one out after I mark all of them. So I marked everything facing the timing chain. So there's a notch here. So I marked everything facing the timing chain. So here's 1, 2, the dots down there. There's 3 dots down there, 4 dots right here. So you see this protrusion here that needs to be facing number 1 cylinder. See that? It's not on the other side, but it's on that one side. This needs to be facing the timing chain. So again, I'm just putting marks in here so I don't have to think. So now it's time to pull these pistons out of here, and then we're going to take a gander at those. So I'm going to assume here, because of how the oil consumption was, that I'm not knowing personally, but if it does have an oil consumption, I expect to see rings collapsed and seized. So basically it's not going to be like stuck and malleable where you can move it and have some spring back. It's just going to be stuck and locked to the outer perimeter, which will match the outer perimeter of the piston. So that's what I'm expecting, because that's usually what I see with these oil consumption problems. And here's the bearing. It looks beautiful. I hate to even have to purchase. I purchased the new bearings, and as good as these look, I mean, honestly, I don't. Might as well just throw these back in there, and I mean, look how tight they are. I might just put a plastic gauge to it, check the clearances, and if these are tighter, keep these on there. Also, they are indicated, so you can't pretty much screw it up if it's facing the right direction. There's some dials here. There's some female side that is receptive of those dials, so you can't screw it up. So if you flip it around, those dials aren't going to match. So it's kind of idiot proof, but I still made a mark anyway. Let's pull this piston out. Let's see if I'm right, which I should be. Let me get this camera up. Let's get a higher view. And yeah, yep. So our O-rings are collapsed. If I get this light on here, look at that. They're actually, the piston rings look okay. You know, they have some pushback, but look at how cruddy the oil rings are. They're just gunked up. You can't even look through those things. Let me see if I can pull it off and get a little better. Yeah, that's all that is. They're not evacuating properly. Look at that. That's the oil rings. So essentially what happens when you try to do like a flush, you're trying to clean these out. That's what you're trying to do. But oil is not enough to be able to get through there, and it's not going to be enough pressure to clean these out. So that's why I just like to use diesel, you know, try that and see if it'll work. Maybe it'll get down in there and break all that up, or like some sort of mix with diesel and acetone or something, or brake cleaner. Brake cleaner works amazingly. If you just let brake cleaner sit in here, it'll dissolve all this stuff. It'll just break it down like it's nothing. As a matter of fact, let's take these rings off. These rings are very loose. We don't really have much pushback because these are getting replaced anyway. Let's see if we can, hold on one second. So I got the rings off, the oil ring. You can see here where the holes are. Those look fine. Like they can, yeah, you can see my finger in the background. These are fine. It's just where the oil ring had small passages here. This is the bottleneck, these oil rings, and that's where the oil begins to bake, and it prevents it from evacuating properly. You can't even see through them. These are horrible. So it's not so much the pistons, it's just the rings. And I can probably could have got away with replacing the rings and been fine, but I'm getting new pistons with new treated skirts and everything. So she's going to be in good shape. And this is pretty much what it's going to look like with all of them. So like I said, basically what happens when you put some sort of treatment cleaner in here, you're trying to clean this stuff out. And be honest, it don't work. It's not enough pressure. It's not strong of a solvent to be able to get this sludge out of here. So a top end soak would be better, where you can get like acetone or paint thinner or something that's going to accumulate and just going to sit there and collect around those walls and essentially collect here and just get like a slow drip. Brake cleaner will break this stuff down very, very good. And be honest, that's what I would do. Just put brake cleaner at the top or paint thinner, something. Just let it sit at the top with the spark plugs out. Just let it sit at the top of the cylinder, fill it up, and just let it slowly drip. And maybe after a couple of treatments, it'll break this stuff down. Oil alone is not going to break this stuff down because it's too slow and too safe. You need something very strong and very aggressive, but you can't put nothing very strong and very aggressive in the lubricating system because it's not oil based. Diesel works extremely well. Everybody have their perception on it. I love it. I really feel, and I do have proof in videos where diesel works pretty well, cleaning off sludge around the engine. But over time, I can see where after several heat cycles, several treatments, where the diesel would be a lot more effective than just what people like to push, the Valvoline, restore and protect. I'm gonna be honest. I just don't care about that shit. You see, this has not had Valvoline, restore and protect, and look how great this engine looks. I got stories like I do real life stuff. People just pushing oil. Oil is just too gradual and too safe. And I think I'm about to start ranting about that Valvoline restore and protect. I just don't care for it. I just care about normal oil change intervals. That's what's effective. And if you do have a problem like this, oil alone is not going to fix it. Flushing with oil all the time is not going to fix it because it's too gradual and too safe. You need something strong, effective, and it need to be put in the proper location for it to be effective. So diesel, at least you can circulate it and it's oil based. Or if you decide to do the top end lubrication, put a solvent at the top of the piston and just let it sit and soak for a few days. When it drains out, fill it up again. Like rinse and repeat. So diesel works very well if you decide to use that as an upper cylinder cleaner and lubricant. I've got video proof of that too. So anyway, hey, look, I feel like I'm starting to rant here. But I'm going to pull the rest of these out. This is the main shebang of what happens. These rings get stopped up, and this is what contributes to our oil consumption problem. You see how bad it is. It cannot evacuate the oil, and it has nowhere to go but between and inside the combustion chamber to be burnt off. And that's why you have to visually inspect those spark plugs and know what you're looking for to see that carbon build up to determine if you have an oil consumption issue or not. If this no leaks, it's ingesting it. And the spark plugs are going to look different pre-valve versus post-valve, meaning that it's being introduced through the rings versus inside and being mixed with the oil versus being more effectively atomized while going in its reciprocating stroke. So anyway, hey, look, that's a whole other topic. But I'm going to pull the rest of this stuff off, but we got as far as we're going to get. The only other thing I can do is pretty much start putting everything back together. This was a pretty good inspection. I'm going to see the same thing with 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom end rotating assembly was perfect. It worked. It was amazing. The only thing is just these rings. Next time, we're going to put these pistons on here, get those replaced, and yeah, and I guess we'll start putting the start stacking everything back on and start making this look like a full engine. So I'm gonna get all this stuff out. So I'm gonna see you on the next one here. So, but if anything happened, I'll definitely update. Hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, how to show us my work. See you on the next one.